CF Montreal played their 5th game of the season in Vancouver versus the Whitecaps. A lot of people thought it was a match that would be close. It was anything but. 3 minutes in, an injury to a key player. 19 minutes later, a player ejected, down to 10 men. Before the half was over, it's 3-0 Vancouver. They added 2 more in the second half. Final score, Vancouver 5-0 over CF Montreal. Yes, 5-0. A fan base which is absolutely livid. Rien ne va plus for CF Montreal. We'll tackle it coming up. I'm Marinaro, Filosa, and DeFalco joining me on the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. CF Montreal Talk.
Here's the chance. They've got the goal. Absolutely incredible. Cameron Porter delivers the goal to send Montreal Impact into the CONCACAF Champions League semi-final.
The sickest CF Montreal podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk. Marinaro along with Filosa and DeFalco. Gentlemen, hello.
Hey, hi Tony. Hi guys. Hey, let's be positive. Let's be positive today. It's only a loss on the field on Vancouver. It's not easy to go out there. It's a long trip and everything. But you know what? I'm trying to be positive. Help me, guys.
Jeremy, what are you showing me?
I'm showing you that every 15 minutes I go check my phone and I try to see if, all the long list of messages of people complaining has stopped, but it hasn't. It just keeps going on and on and on. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
All right. So just so that it won't be 3 guys that are complaining here, take a look at this chart out of some of the complaints last night after the game into today, of course. The complaints are numerous. The fan base is absolutely livid. And so, look, before we get to all of that, let's actually get to the starting lineup for both teams, okay? Let's bring it up, and here you go. All right, a 4-3-2-1 for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Should be noted that Gauld was not playing, and neither was Cordova up top.
Yeah.
And if you take a look at Montreal, 3-4-3 or a 3-4-1-2, more like it, was Sirois in goal, Camacho, Miller, and Waterman, your 3 center backs. Herrera, a right wing back, Choinière, a left wing back, Piet and Wanyama in front of the back line, Rea just ahead of them, in behind Toy and Ofer. And gentlemen, that was your starting lineup. Samuel Piet back in the lineup after an abductor injury. Guess what? 3 minutes in, guys, he goes down. 3 minutes in.
Yeah. And now you got to start wondering, I don't know how long it takes for an abductor injury to heal, but was he, doctors have more information than me. Was it wise to send him out there at that moment? I have no idea. But now he's probably out for, an even longer stretch of time.
Losada said after the game.
When a player's hurt and he goes back down 3 minutes in, it doesn't look good on anybody. They can say whatever they want. Clearly, he should not have played last night.
Well, Losada said after the game that it's basically the same injury that he had a couple of weeks ago, though, so it doesn't look good. Maybe the adductors, but I'm meaning adductors, it doesn't take two weeks to heal. Sometimes it's 2 months, 3 months. It's a long process for adductors. So, there's not good news for Sami Piet, the captain.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So Piet goes down at the 3-minute mark. By the time he's escorted off the field, a couple of minutes later, by the time Reda Zouhir comes in to take his place in the lineup, it's a couple of minutes after that. But you know what? This game was all Vancouver. Yeah. It was all Vancouver. Take a look at the scoring chances. It was Gressel, 20 yards out. It was right off the post on a free kick. 6 minutes later, it was Ali Ahmed in close with a shot, and it was a stop by Jonathan Sirois. About 8 minutes after that, it was Gressel in close and another stop off of Sirois. And then, guys, at the 38-minute mark comes goal number 1. But before that time, there is an ejection. Rudy Camacho ejected after a ball goes over the top, over him, and it's Betcher onto his feet. He takes off. Camacho hangs on to him, brings him down, tugging onto his shirt, his shorts, everything he can. It was very obvious. It's last man back, guys. And he gets a red card and he's ejected. And that's a turning point in that game.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if he's not last man, it's a second yellow. He would have been out anyways. But that back line, it was a disaster all night. And I don't know what the Whitecaps saw from the first couple of games Montreal played, but they were sending balls deep into the center of that defense all night long, and they kept winning those battles. Just before Camacho gets ejected, Waterman is put into a same situation where he's got to grab a player's shirt. He takes a yellow also. So I understand the fact that the midfield was not able to keep the ball at all, made it complicated for the defense, but this cannot continue this way, guys. And just want to say, this idea of Lozada of as soon as you get your foot on the ball, you want to go forward, it's not working. Because if you look well at this game, the second Montreal put their foot on the ball, they tried going forward, but they looked like chickens with no head. Didn't know where they were going, and in a matter of 2, 3, 4 seconds, they would lose the ball, turn it over, and all of a sudden, it's coming back into their end. So it's not working.
Montreal, they were always on pressure, always one guy on the defenders or the midfield. It didn't look good. Like even the first 10, 15 minutes, Vancouver was the best team. And when Camacho got out, we were playing like for 10, for against 11 for 60 minutes. But at the same time, you only practiced 3-4-3 at the training. How come we were not able to practice 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, 4-4-1? Something you have to be able to play three tactics, at least three tactic strategy. It's not the same. Guys were mixed up on the pitch. 3-4-3. How come we play 4-4-1? Everybody was in a bad position all night long, guys. It was a disaster.
Well, look, besides playing different formations, every coach will tell you that before a game is played, you prepare for different eventualities. And one of the eventualities you play for is if this player gets hurt, what do I do? If we get a red card and we go down to 10 men, what do we do? How do we adapt? How do we change? How do we play? And it just seemed like that when they got red carded, they didn't know how to play a man down. It's like they didn't really have an idea of how to play a man down. And Jeremy, when you said, I don't know what Vancouver saw, they were putting a lot of balls over the top. What they saw is they saw a couple of guys on the back line that are slow. I mean, that's what they saw.
But these are the same guys as last year. And last year, Montreal was solid defensively. So what has happened in a year? What has happened over the winter? Have these guys automatically become slow all of a sudden? I don't know. But they've definitely seen something because they kept feeding balls there and Montreal kept losing all those battles. So as I mentioned, guys, they're going to have to rethink certain things. When we talk about what Wilfred Nancy wanted to do when the players got their foot on the ball, lift their heads and look in front and see what are my options, who are my guys, before taking off like a horse with no head, or a chicken with no head, I should say. Start preparing the play. How many turnovers yesterday, guys? How many bad passes? It was a nightmare.
They led to a lot of goals.
All the cohesion we had last year, watching this game yesterday, it was just an absolute disaster.
Oh, it ended 5-0, but it could easily ended 6-7, 8-0 because they hit the post. They missed so many chances. One chance.
So many saves in the first 38 minutes. Leroy made a bunch of saves because it could have been.
Yeah, I know that Waterman was playing in front of friends and family, but he looked horrible yesterday. I'm sorry, but that was one of his worst games for Joel Waterman.
Here's a memo to Joel Waterman. It's a great guy. Great guy, gives you everything he has, okay? Sometimes it's enough. Sometimes it's more than enough. Sometimes it's not. Luckily, not everyone is subscribed just yet. Because if a lot of people would have seen going over to family and friends right at the end of the game and a big smile with everyone and laughing and stuff like that, it doesn't look good after you lose 5-0. Okay. Now he's a young player in the league and it's okay. It's the MLS. No one really cares. If it was Europe, there would have been, There would have been tomatoes flying everywhere. But, just going forward, if your team loses 5-0 in Europe, you don't stay around. You don't go shake hands and smile and this and that. You go over to your family if you want, and you say,
you put behind closed doors.
Yeah,
you can add too. There's no
correct.
relegation too in the MLS.
Yeah, you go
That's
over to your family and you say, you know what? I'm going to talk to you at the end of the game. Okay, I'm going to see you later. All right. Okay. Now, mind you, that's not a big problem. 38-minute mark, guys. Brown takes the ball off of Choinière. Choinière loses the ball across over Waterman, and now it's Betcher and White, basically 2v1 with Corbo on Betcher, and the pass comes across, and White makes it 1-0. 5 minutes later, it's Martin to Ahmed to Betcher, and Betcher makes, guys, a great run. This is a goal scorer's intuition, guys.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to the net, Waterman's with him, and all of a sudden, he drops back, he puts his foot out, and he redirects a ball, okay? This kid was fantastic yesterday. He scored 2 goals, Betcher did, in the win for the Vancouver Whitecaps. He's got 4 goals in the MLS in his first 87 minutes of play. Guys, 4 goals.
That's an MLS record, by the way.
In his first 87 minutes. And this guy was drafted 16th overall in the 2021 MLS draft. You know who had the 15th pick, 1 pick before Vancouver? Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
You know who Montreal picked? Another forward, Jojoe Quizera.
Yeah.
Who now they're looking if they can put him as a wing back because he doesn't fill in as a forward. Guys, this was the wrong pick.
Yeah. Well, before we start, analyzing, are they making the right or wrong picks? I would like to sit down with our team of scouts. That's what I would like to do. Do you think my basement over here, I have enough space to bring them all in?
I think so.
What do you think? I got a pretty small basement, but I have a feeling that I could bring them all in, basically. How many full-time scouts do you have looking at these players? I have no idea. But sometimes I feel like they're just picking a name out of the hat, unfortunately.
But that was a mistake.
Jeremy, they wouldn't be the first team to have 3 or 4 scouts, all right? Because scouting college players, you really need an extensive scouting staff to be able to do so because, of course, the college players play in different divisions and in different conferences. It's very vast. You would need a very vast staff. Not a lot of MLS teams have a very vast staff, okay? But what we need to understand here, guys, is that I'm going to tell you something. Betcher is not in the profile of forwards the CF Montreal has shown us ever since Olivier Renard has taken over. And I'm not saying that Olivier Renard's responsible for the Betcher pick. He's not. It's his scouts. But the scouts are given a profile of what they're looking for. Do you remember who the forwards were when Olivier Renard got here? His forwards were Anthony Jackson Amel, Okonkwo,
Oduro, was he still there?
Balou, and Urruti. Okay,
Right.
which was acquired before Olivier Renard.
Yeah.
The following year, Kyoto,
Yeah.
Toy, Anthony Jackson Amel, Ogwonkwo, and Urruti. That offseason, Urruti was traded. The next year, Kyoto, Toy, Ibrahim, Bjorn Johnson, and they brought back Balou if you want to put him in the forward category. And this season, Kyoto, Toy, Ibrahim, Ofer, and Vilsain. Guys.
Yeah. Where's your difference maker? In all those players that you mentioned, maybe Kyoto was a good player, but all those players, where are they right now? They're not even playing in the MLS. But Betcher, 6'1", he knows how to score goals. Those 2 goals that he scored yesterday, some deflection, that's talent, guys. That's talent, that's poise, that's character. I'm happy for the kid, and I think he's going to have maybe a similar career as Jordan Morris, but he looks good, guys. After only 1 game, I can tell you that's MLS material, maybe Europe material in a couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. And, they couldn't handle him. He was running around, burning Camacho, burning Waterman all night long. He had a lot of energy. I know that, Vancouver had a lot of issues scoring goals, and they decided to give this guy a chance. He had also scored a goal last week against Minnesota. He had also scored a goal in Champions League the week before. So the kid's hot right now. And he came out of nowhere. I don't even know if Montreal was ready for this guy or not. But, in the end, they just – guys, it was a terrible game.
Guys, who were the two best players on the field last night? I think it was very obvious to everyone.
Well, I'm going to give Sirois again.
No. In the game.
Betcher and Hamed.
Oh,
Correct.
okay. Yeah.
Betcher and Ali Ahmed were the two best players, right?
You can throw Gressel into the conversation too. Yeah.
Okay. They had obvious chemistry together, Betcher and Ahmed. You saw it last night, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Where did they play last year?
They played in the farm system with Vancouver too, I think.
Correct. In which league?
MLS Next Pro.
Yeah.
That's it. If Montreal would have drafted Betcher, they would have tried to fast track him and bring him up, or they would have put him in the PLSQ.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, guys, we've talked about this a million times.
A league that Sanusi played in last year and didn't score.
Yeah, but Sanusi rarely even played. They didn't even send him down to play many games. He played. Okay, so I mean, does that make any sense? No. And we're back to square one. Guys, we've said it a million times. I don't care how they explain it to me. For me, a team that says that they are there to develop players and is the only team that doesn't have an MLS Next Pro team, it makes no sense. Zero. If you're telling me, listen, we might not have an MLS Next Pro, but we have the biggest team of scouts in the league, or we spend money on players, or I don't know, we recruit players from big teams in the States or in Europe, which we have deals with. None of that is happening, guys. So every little aspect of the game, we're cutting corners all the time. And to me, it's unexcusable. Olivier Renard explained to us on IMFC Radio that an MLS Next Pro team costs about $2.5 million. They've just pocketed about 20. Don't tell me that you can't take 2.5 out of that 20 and put a team together. Guys, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, honestly. Yep. And with all the love that I have for guys like Zouir and Saliba, okay, it's not right to make them take this jump. Okay, we saw Zouir yesterday on the third goal. Gives the ball away. It comes back to him.
It's right
gives
for
the ball
players.
Away again.
Hold on a second. It's right for the players. They're making over $100,000 a year.
Bro, that's not what's important.
They want to be
You're going to make $100,000 now? You're going to make $100,000 now and you're going to burn your name? No. Go play in the CPL.
All depending. If they give them minutes, if they give them 20, 30, 40 minutes a game, you're going to go up in value and transfer market. You're going to end up being sold. If you don't play, that's another story. If you don't play, it's another story.
Guys,
I think if you play, but you play bad, it's not good.
Yeah. Bro, it's bad. It's no shots on target for the second consecutive game on the road. No shots on target against Nashville. No shots on target against Vancouver. We're not talking about the Real Madrid over here. We're talking about MLS teams, which is a parity league. No shots on target. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And if you want to make the playoffs, guys, you will have to manufacture 15 to 20 points on the road. You cannot only rely on winning on the home base and make the playoffs. You have to win some games on the road. And right now, guys, it's a real mess.
I already told you a couple of weeks ago that the academy, they already know, Jeremy. They already know for the most part, okay? They identify some kids that play with the Canadian national program. They get called up to play Canada U17. Mm-hmm. They take a look at some of those kids and they say, okay, you know what? This one here, we're going to fast track him. This one here, we're going to fast track him. Back in the post-mortem of the 2016 season, team owner and president Joey Saputo said in his press conference, we're going to try and identify players quicker so we can fast track them to the first team. And back then they announced an affiliation with the Ottawa Fury, which no longer exists and stuff like that, so they can play. So that's what they do. They try to identify players right away at U15, U17 level, and those players get fast-tracked. That's why it's a player from the U17 or a couple of players that already go and train with the pro teams. That's what the way they want to do it. But, guys, skipping steps, it doesn't work. I'm going to ask you a question. Are you ready? The question I'm going to ask you?
Yeah.
Find me another academy of another pro team in the world that goes from U17 to U23. Now, you can come back and tell me, well, that U23 team is not a U23 team. It's a U19 team. It hasn't been identified as a U19 team. It's been classified as a U23 team, okay?
Well,
find me another academy of another team in the world that goes from 17, hold on a second, that goes from 17 to 23. Find me another one, because I'll tell you right now, okay? In Switzerland and Austria, they have U18, they have U21. In Italy, you have U17, U18, U19 Primavera. In Portugal and Spain, they go to U19 and then they go to U23. Find me U17 to 23. Find me that.
Tony, we don't want to spend. The club has said we don't want to spend for a farm team, MLS Next Pro. So we bring players at age 17 or 18, and they practice with Victor Wanyama, Rudy Camacho, and then maybe loan to a Canadian Premier League team. We don't know, but bro, it doesn't work. It's starting to catch up now. It's starting to catch up to have all those young players growing pains on the starting lineup week after week. They're learning the very, very hard way. It's not good for the fans right now. Have you seen the reaction, guys? Have you seen the reaction on social media? Is it only me? The fans are yelling, are destroying the team today.
You want to find the comments? Just go on Instagram, Twitter, where the CF Montreal posts the final result 5-0, and read the comments. It's terrible. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and it's way too much to ask these players to make that step from PLSQ to be starters in the MLS. Makes no sense. The U19 team was scrapped when they decided to come out with this.
But there was no Jeremy. There was no PLSQ player that was a starter last night.
Okay, they weren't starting last night, but Zouir is basically a starter. He comes in at the 3rd minute. He's got to play the whole game, right?
I hear you. I
mean, listen, on the 3rd goal, he turns it over. They give it back to him. He turns it over again, and it ends up in our net. I have nothing against these kids. Understand me, people. I'm not blaming these kids. They're doing the best they can in the situation that they've been placed in, but it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I don't know where we're going. And listen, you talked about Joey Saputo and what he explained about the way that they wanted to fast-track players. Where is Joey Saputo? Guys, you got to come out at some point. You got to answer some questions. We have a book full of questions for owner Joey Saputo. We don't know where he's going. We don't know what he's doing. We don't know the philosophy of the team. Because if it is, tell us straight up. I don't give a crap about winning. What I want to do is make money or not lose money. Whatever happens on the field, honestly, I don't really care. So at least people can know, and we'll go from there. Because at this moment, sending out Gervais and sending out everybody else to answer the questions, guys, there are so many things wrong with this organization. It's not even funny. And at some point, if you're not ready to come out and answer questions, we got a huge problem. And you know what the biggest theme is?
Yeah.
You know what the theme is? What are people asking for on social media? Read and tell me what's the most common theme. People are fed up with Joey Saputo. They want him to sell the team. Spend the money or sell the team to somebody else because people are fed up with this. And they're right.
If you take a look at the way soccer obviously is run in Europe with relegation, okay, you can understand teams that are development teams. Some teams, they look at Juventus, they look at Inter Milan, they look at AC Milan, and they say, you know what? Those are the big fish, and we cannot compete with those. So what are we going to do? We're going to end up being a development team. We're going to develop players. We're going to be a feeder system. We're going to sell those players. We're going to make money. We're going to get other players. We're going to identify. We're going to develop those. And that's how they stay in the circle, and that's how they make money. The MLS there's no relegation in this league. Every team, every year, has a chance to win the championship, just like everyone else, and you're within a salary cap. The only thing that changes, everyone has the same salary cap. The only thing that changes, obviously, is you can go out and you can get DPs and you can spend as much money as you want on those DPs. This is the problem. It's become evident that they don't want to spend a lot of money. Everyone knows that. What is really upsetting the fans is what they're trying to do is really what they're telling the fans. We want to develop players and we want to sell them. We want to develop players and we want to sell them. We want to develop players and we want to sell them. The fans have had enough because you know what the goal is in professional sports? It's to win. And if you're going to develop players and sell them, you're not going to win.
Tony, for me, it was clear last year. Last year, when they're in second place and they're going into the summer transfer window and you get nobody, zero, you have a clear opportunity at a championship and you tell your fan base, we're getting nobody. That's what we're going to do. And I'm telling you, Tony, if Wilfred Nancy hadn't taken his final decision at that point, that was the final straw. Because Wilfred Nancy wanted to win. And if he's thinking to himself, I got this team in second place in the league, we got a chance here of winning the Supporters Shield or even going to the MLS Cup, and I get no help, I'm out of here. And do you blame him? No.
But let's be realistic, guys. Let's be realistic. What are the expectations really for that club? You have no star. You have no DPs or defensive mid DPs. No game changer. Guys, if we make the playoffs this year, it's going to be a miracle. So what are really the expectations? Last year was amazing. Everything clicked. We were like maybe one player away from winning that MLS Cup, and everything fell apart because we sold Kamara, game changer, Mihailovic, a game changer, Kone, same thing, Johnston, he left, Torres was a super sub, everybody left. Everybody left.
But listen, they're not held accountable, guys, all right? It's a media that is not overly tough on this team, okay? It's a team that isn't covered very much. It's a team that isn't talked about very much, and that's why they can kind of do what they want to do because no one holds them accountable. I'm going to give you some examples, okay? Yeah. I was looking at my phone because I wanted to see at the exact time that I text you guys this, right? Jeremy, you remember this. Last night, after the game, okay, or not after the game obviously it wasn't over yet. It was after the first half, okay? After the first half, it was 11:38 p.m. Okay, it was 11:38 p.m. At one point, I'm going back and forth and I'm checking something. And on one of the TV stations, they're showing footage of CF Montreal versus Vancouver. And they said, first half, it's over. The score is 0-0. Okay, so it was 3-0 after the first half, all right? They said the score 0-0. This team isn't covered very much. Look, for example, when I talk to you about accountability, okay? Let's play that press conference back in 2016.
De façon réaliste, avec nos progrès constants et mesures d'année en année, je crois que nous avons tous les ingrédients nécessaires et notre objectif est de remporter la Coupe MLS d'ici les 5 prochaines années. We believe we have all the ingredients in place to ensure the best possible developmental path for our young players. Finally, if we fulfill all these conditions and stay the course, our aim is to win MLS Cup within the next 5 years.
No pressure with the MLS Cup statement.
It's 5 years, Adam. Plenty of time.
All right. When we talk about accountability, that was December 9th, 2016.
Yeah.
December 9th, 2016. We were told that they were going to have the best development path going forward for their young players. Okay.
Yeah.
6.5 years later, obviously.
Maybe he just made one mistake. Maybe he meant worse development path.
All right. 6.5 years later, it's obviously not the case. Okay. 6.5 years later, they have not delivered an MLS Cup. I think it's safe to say they're not going to win one this year either. Okay. No. But
yeah.
Have you ever seen that clip ever since that 2016 presser from there's no accountability, guys. This is North America. It's okay. You play soccer, you win, you lose.
Yeah, no,
but you got to put things in context. 9 December 2016, Montreal made the semifinal. They were that close to make the MLS final against Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. Drogba was here. They sell out 12 games at Saputo out of a possibility of 17. Everything was wow. Let's go. And then suddenly that winter they acquired nobody. I think Jamali came for a couple of months and he left. That's the only acquisition we made from Bologna. Since then, guys, they have been nobody. Maybe Mancosu, nothing, yeah. Guys. So
you
got to put things in context. 7 years ago, we had that hype. Something's gonna happen. Nothing happened since then.
Listen, guys,
nothing happened since then.
If you go back to 2016, all major media outlets had somebody covering the team. Today, most media outlets don't have anybody covering the team anymore. Or if they do, they've already changed like 3 or 4 times. So the person who was there in 2016 hasn't been there for years. And he's been replaced by somebody else, by somebody else, by somebody else. So they can't be accountability. The only guys that have been here all this time is me. Gavino now has been there for 4 or 5 years. Tony, you've been there also. But that's it. That's it. There's nobody else. And I'm scared. Honestly, I look at the coverage at this team, and with all the respect that I have for some of the independent reporters, because they do a great work, okay? And they watch the games, and they stay up, and they ask questions, and they show up to practice. But their reach is so limited on social media that they are not attaining the amount of people that this team needs. Right now, guys, people don't even know this team is playing. This is the reality. They don't even know that they're playing. And another thing I'm going to say is,
you know how you reach a lot of people?
Yeah.
You either have a star power player,
yeah,
then you're going to reach everybody. Okay?
Exactly.
All right. Al Nasser, I don't know how many people they had following them on Instagram, but I can tell you it's like a million times more now that they have Ronaldo.
Definitely.
And or you win.
Okay, but the problem is, Tony, we know that you can't win every year. We know that, right? So now you got those 8,000 season tickets. Thank God that they actually sold those tickets, because now people are stuck with them. But how hard is it going to be to sell tickets on a day-to-day basis? And this is what I say. If you don't want to get a star player, you are stuck winning games. And if you don't win games, you're screwed, because people will not come and follow you. They will not buy tickets. So it's a bad situation.
I've been following the team for the last 4 or 5 years, 24/7.
Can I interrupt for a second, Gavino, before
All right, go ahead.
You can comment on this, okay?
All right, go ahead.
Jeremy, with all due respect, I think stuck was it was a little bit of a tough word. I mean, it's not like they sell their season tickets for $20,000.
Tony, how many people have you seen commenting yesterday saying, I can't believe I bought season tickets for this year.
Okay, and that's
believing what I saw last year.
Yes, that's true. People said that. I read the comments too. Okay, but it's not like the season tickets cost a lot. A and B, you know what? It's always a nice night out. And C, you're going to get some star power on the other teams. Now, that's not what people want. They want the star power here, and they want to win games. I get you.
You know what? When Olivier Renard says, if you want to see star players, buy a plane ticket and go watch them somewhere else. I've never heard of any business saying that. You go to the supermarket and the guy says, if you want good tomatoes, go shop somewhere else. I mean, any business. You walk into a car dealership. Hey, you want a car that runs well? Go buy it somewhere else. Nobody says that.
No, I just want to say,
Jeremy's right. Their communication strategy this year has been very particular. Telling everybody that your goal is that you want. So one, the president says, we're not,
personally, I asked the question to my friend Olivier Renard a couple of weeks ago on IMFC Radio, and he told us basically the goal is not to win the cup. That's it, guys.
Yeah. He said, guys, we have to revise our expectations. We're not aiming to win the cup. So that's what he said.
Yes, but this is what we do know, guys. I don't know if they've said it publicly or not. They believe they're going to make the playoffs this year. That's what they believed. Okay. And they believed they were going to go further than they did a year ago. So they didn't believe they were going to have the same regular season.
How?
But they believed they were going to make the playoffs. And they believe, guys, you guys told me they were going to make the playoffs.
Tony,
I told you they weren't going to make the playoffs.
With everybody healthy, maybe. That was a maybe. But after 5 games, let's get back to the pitch. What is Montreal's identity? Can you tell me what's the identity of the team? Is it a fast team? Is it a counterattack team? Is it a defensive team? Is it a possession team? Bro, I think it's none of the answers. They're all mixed up right now. And nobody, I think, is embracing the new philosophy of the coach.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying after 5 games.
Guys, the reality is everybody knows in that locker room that they had a head coach that they liked and were able to work with. And the only reason he's gone is because we know who upstairs. Okay. And this has got to bug the players, because they got to say, we did everything that we needed to do in this room to have a winning team. Okay. And you went and screwed it up. Okay. That's the first thing. Then the departure of certain players. I'm sorry to repeat this, guys, but in the locker room, what happened with Kai Kamara was not appreciated by the other players. Not at all. Okay. So we may like him or not like him on the way he did things, but he was liked in the dressing room. Olivier Renard said it himself. This might affect my dressing room. I'm telling you right now. And those guys on the back line, they were friends with Kai Kamara. And trust me, they're not happy campers right now.
The reason why the veterans are not delivering the way they should be delivering thus far this year, I think, and this is just, it's speculating because I don't know. I can't put myself in their body and their minds and know. But based on what they said, based on what we see, based on the body language, it leads me to believe they don't think they're a very good team. They don't think they have a lot of depth.
Yeah.
And therefore, when the game gets tough and they're behind, instead of going after it, and I know they went after it on one occasion versus Philadelphia, I think today we can look at that and everyone knows there was a little bit of element of luck in winning that game, but I think the guys just don't think the team is good enough. And this is on everybody.
I think so. You're right, Tony. Even Chino Ofor, we were high on this guy last couple of weeks ago when he scored. Yesterday, with the ball in his feet, doesn't know how to dribble. He's no Ronaldo. He's far away from maybe Kai Kamara, but I think he's a good target on the box. But you cannot ask him to bring the ball into the last third of the offense,
Listen, Gavino, with all due respect, Ofer, let's put the cards on the table, okay? He doesn't have the best feet.
Of course.
He's not a dribbler. There's some coordination issues there, maybe to the point of some clumsiness. I think we all realize that. But you know what? That's okay. But you have to play to his strengths. You understand what I'm trying to say? There's no.
How many times did you see a kick and run yesterday from Montreal? They were clearing. How many clearance from Montreal?
Guys,
no construction. No construction.
You know why they shouldn't do it? Because ball to foot, guys, they haven't put a ball in the net yet.
Yeah.
They put one off a PK and two off headers. They haven't received the ball in the box or outside, kicked it, and put it in the net. But, it's important for strikers to do other stuff.
Guys, for me, the first 3 games of the year, they were not good, okay? They lost by small margins, but it could have been worse. Remember, Sirois was pretty good at the beginning of the year. They had that game at Olympic Stadium where even when they went up by a man, they were still disorganized. They were lucky to get that Chinonso Ofer goal, turned over, made it 2-2. I think, the bench on Philadelphia was completely distraught about that situation, and they took advantage and scored another one. But as you just mentioned, the anomaly so far in this season was those last 10 minutes of that game at Olympic Stadium. And trust me, if they're not up a man, it doesn't happen.
And next week won't be easier, guys. You're facing a very good New England Revolution in Boston, in Foxborough, and you're facing probably the hottest and the best keeper in the league. It won't get easier next week, guys, with Rudy Camacho out, red card, and Sami Piet probably out for a couple of weeks, maybe a month. And Herrera, have you seen Herrera yesterday when he left the field? He wasn't feeling 100%. So, guys, it's injuries, it's losing, it's no shots on target, it's social media, it's everything right now. I don't know how the week is going to look. But something has to happen, and fast.
There's a lot of guys that sustain injuries, and then a week after they come back with them, and they get hurt again. Lapi was hurt. They came back. Boom, he got hurt. Piet, he was hurt. They came back. He got hurt. Even Kyoto was nursing injury. The good thing yesterday is that they did put in some young players because they're going to rest some of their other players that started the game. They're going to rest Wanyama. And Wanyama too, guys. I mean,
he struggles to move around, guys.
Let's talk about Wanyama. He's the DP on the team. Okay, this is not his fault, guys. It's not him who forced him to become a DP and give him the money that he gave him. Yeah. But if you're gonna have one DP, if you're gonna have one, and you have can you make it an offensive player so people want to come and watch? With all due respect to Wanyama, do you know how many sixes Montreal has on this team? Piet can play 6. Saliba can play 6. Zouir can play 6. Chouanier can play 6. Iliadis can play 6. DeFalco can play 6. Filosa can play 6. How many 6s do you want to have on this team?
No, but just to tell you guys, I mean,
the money is spent with offensive players in the MLS. Hani Mukhtar, Carlos Vela, all those guys, Carlos Hill, all those players are offensive players. I don't know why we went to get a defensive DP. Why?
Well, the one thing about Wanyama is I find, when he's got the ball at his feet, he struggles to move around. He's big, but he's getting it's getting tougher and tougher every year, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it now.
Nice.
No, we'll see what happens.
MLS is a fast league. They're not a fast team.
Yeah. No,
MLS is a fast league. They're not.
Can I say something? Listen, we got a bunch of young guys, and we know that they're going to need time, and that's fine. But Ahmed Hamdi has been here. This is his third year. It's his last year of his contract right now. We were told by the coach at the beginning of the year in camp that he was one of 2 number 10s identified by the club. Why is this guy not getting a single minute? What's going on? Like, if you want to know, you're going to have to take a decision on this guy soon. He has no contract at the end of the year. Can we at least see where he's at? I don't understand.
Losada answered the question. He said there's a lot of competition right now in the center of the pitch.
What competition?
I understand, but you're losing every game. He
identified 2 10s, and there's one who's never played.
Yeah, never played. I agree with you.
I agree with 3 minutes, one game.
But you want to talk about speed? Next week, just look at Latif Blessing. Latif Blessing was playing with LAFC. He's now a member of New England Revolution. This guy is flying. And New England and Bruce Arena went to get this guy next week, bro. It won't be a picnic for Montreal in the middle of the pitch. They're getting destroyed in the middle of the pitch.
Jeremy, when you said it was, we talked about formation, right?
Yeah.
I told you guys a couple of weeks in, right? I love Sean Rea. I'll always tell you I love Sean Rea. It was one of my favorite players that I saw growing up, okay? One of my favorites. Was always had a great relationship with the ball, always very technical player. He's passionate about football, about soccer, okay? But I told you a couple of weeks ago that after watching this game, personally, I think he runs too much to be a number 10. I think he's a player that has to play wide, and he has to play in 1v1 situations because that's where I believe Sean Rea is at his best. Now, do I believe Sean Rea can play several positions on the pitch? Yes, I do. But I believe that on his best one, he's playing on the left side in 1v1 situations where he can cut in and he can hammer it with his right foot. And by the way, he's got a very, very good shot. And yesterday he's playing in behind the 2 forwards, guys. And when you talked about a number 10, when you talked about maybe a little bit too much, too soon for some young, they don't have a 10, guys. They don't have a 10. And I'm going to, they don't have a 10. And now,
guys,
Malco gets hurt. You get that?
Yeah, but guys, 2-3 weeks ago, Lozada told us Matko should be back in 2-3 weeks. Now what we're hearing is looks like it's going to be longer than expected. Now he just told us this week, yeah, he's going to be back in 2 to 3 weeks. So we have a setback here. So he's not going to be coming back in the time frame that we said he was going to. So the
not even that. When he comes back, he's not going to be at his best. He's a player returning from injury.
Of course. So,
he's
guys,
gonna have maybe some minutes in the Canadian Championships if we win against Vaughan. That's the
listen for me, guys.
It's not automatic, guys. That's not automatic.
There needs to be a shock there. Does there need to be a shock? Yeah. Look, the fans we talk, they're absolutely livid. They're on social media. They are going nuts. This is one of the most embarrassing losses in franchise history. They are dead last. They're dead last.
I know, but what do you want to do?
Dead last team.
You want to play the counter? You want to change system? Let's do it.
What do they do? But what needs to happen, though? Does somebody need to come out? Like Renard has spoken. Gervais has spoken.
The owner has to come out. He has to sit down at that table, and he's got to answer questions for 45 minutes. Agapito. Where are you?
I think they're gonna say last year we started the year 1-3-1. This year we're 1-4-0, but it's not the same. I know it's not the same thing, guys. We don't have that firepower on the bench or on the pitch. I think they will say it's not easy with the jet lag. We were playing against a hungry team, that Vancouver, whatever. We got so many players on the disabled list. I know, but that's what they're going to say this week. Okay. I know that's what they're going to say this week.
Because I'm hearing people say, that's not easy. They got to start the season on the road all the time because they come at Toronto. Do they play on the road? No, they play at home. You know why? Because they have the proper equipment in their freaking stadium. So they don't have to do this bullshit that we have to do every year. It's enough. I don't want to hear excuses no more. Take the money out and put it. Or else go do something else. Please.
Renard said
You wanna own
a couple of weeks ago,
franchise,
no
come on.
excuse. No excuse,
No,
he said. A couple of
that's
weeks
all I'm
ago.
getting. Oh,
The
we have
veteran
to start on the
players-
road. We have to play at Olympic Stadium. Why? Because you choose. Because you choose for it to be like that. That's all. It's nobody's fault. It's your own fault. That's it.
Yeah.
It should be an interesting week. It's a sick podcast, CF Montreal Talk. I'm Marinaro for Filosa and Gavino, wishing you a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Subscribe. It's absolutely free at the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk, and on Twitter at SickPod, CFMTL. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.